Joining us here on the Rich Eisen Show, big week for this man. Wipeout returns to TBS at 9 Eastern tonight, starting on Thursday on HBO Max. The Peacemaker premieres, and we've always enjoyed his character of Peacemaker from the Suicide Squad movie of James Gunn's 2021 movie. And of course, he's just one of the most popular guys around. He's known as the voice of Ferdinand at my house. I'm going to end this long introduction because we only have a limited amount of time with John Cena. How you doing, John?
Rich Eisen, you promotional juggernaut. Thank you very much for the introduction. I appreciate it.
You know what? That may be the nicest thing anybody's ever called me, John. I'll be very honest with you. Promotional juggernaut. That's me.
I like setting your expectations low, sir. How is everything?
I am good. What a big week this is in the life of John Cena, huh?
Very exciting. There's a lot of buzz around the show. Early reviews have been very strong. Audience engagement is good. I am in New York right now. I know you can't see me, and that's kind of like in a meta thing. That's kind of my existence anyway.
Yes.
The full Peacemaker costume as we are running through the final moments to get people to watch this thing on HBO Max.
So I'm just need to ask you this: does this mean that you still have television? Because again, you're not on camera here. You still have television appearances for the rest of the day, or you're just so committed to the role that you're in character off camera right now?
I honestly think a safe answer there is both.
Okay.
And I'm okay with saying that, both.
Okay. You know what? That's because you're a professional. You're a lead pipe wielding professional. I think that's what we would like to say.
Or I'm someone who got lucky to slip into the professional ranks, and I really shouldn't be here anyway. So I figured I'm going to go down swinging with the costume on.
So now, you lost the lid to Fallon last night? Is that
I did.
Okay, what happened?
He had definite home field advantage, that son of a bitch.
What happened?
I don't even own the helmet, and I lost it. I wanted it. We play all these games. We play these stupid games.
Sure.
We did actually a really cool football breaking glass one. But we even played a game called Fish Slap, where you just slap somebody in the face with a fish. There's no if you get the answer wrong, you get slapped. You just slap a person in the face with a fish.
Yes.
And he called the game Fish Slap. But there's never any friggin' stakes. Nothing is ever. We don't play for anything.
Mm-hmm.
So to make something competitively interesting, you got to have something on the line. And I foolishly bet the helmet. And he was going to give me a Tonight Show mic, and I said that was garbage. I wanted him to frost his hair tips because he would hate it so much he would have to get a really short haircut. So
right.
It's going to be a 2-for-1 for me. But like I said, sucker's bet, and he actually knew what game it was, and I had no clue. I went in overconfident. I blame it on the Peacemaker outfit. And I ended up losing the helmet.
Well, I mean, we have, for those who don't know, I think they all do, but anyway, a shot of the helmet on camera. That looks expensive, John. I'm not going to lie. Does that mean there's a garnished wage of some sort in your next paycheck?
So I was under the impression that I wouldn't be receiving any pay for playing Peacemaker in the first place. I was happy that I could get out on the field, so they say, and do my thing. No one has ever referred to me as a professional, and I think one of those things is pay. So they may have to put that one on my tab. The check's in the mail. Can I say that?
You can. Hey, man.
If they don't get it in a few days, just wait longer.
You're John Cena. You can say whatever you want, man. So, you can say whatever you want. And so, okay. You look like you have a blast playing this role, John.
No, it's fun. It's fun. And I think the fun thing about it is the guy is so flawed. He is so broken, and there's something about characters, especially when you lean into what I would call an 8-hour movie here on HBO Max, as we got 8 episodes of this thing, that you see, and we saw this a bit in the Suicide Squad. He has a moment. He's just a real bad guy, and his ethos is, I love peace so much, I don't care who I have to kill to get it. Right there, you get an idea that this guy is not wired straight, and I think it's his journey. And people because when we announced the show, a lot of the audience members were like, why are you giving this douchebag his own show? He's the least likable character in the Suicide Squad. Why wasn't it Bloodsport or Polka Dot Man or Ratcatcher 2? And I think it's that engagement of can this guy be better? Will this guy grow? What journey am I going to go on? And what hilarity am I going to see on the way? And man, hats off to James Gunn and the crew. James wrote a beautiful miniseries, and I'm so glad we had so much fun doing it, and it came out great. And I know anticipation is high for the series, and I really hope everybody enjoys it when they can finally see it on HBO Max.
John Cena here on the Rich Eisen Show. And so I'm looking at the cast, and of all the cast members, one name leaps out at me, Robert Patrick. Want to talk about a badass. You know, he's been here before. He and I both share a love of the University of Michigan together. You got a good Robert Patrick story? I mean, you know, Mr. T2?
I have a good Robert Patrick story? So the very first film I was a part of, when I was just a bright-eyed WWE champion, not knowing which way was up,
yes,
was a film we did in 2004 or 5 in Australia called The Marine, and the lead villain in The Marine was none other than the Robert Patrick.
Yes.
So he kind of got to, and he played one hell of a part for us. I would have had to be a whole lot better to have sucked in that movie, and he really did the yeoman's work, and it was great, you know, all these years later, you know, almost 20 years later to come back and perform with Robert again. And fittingly enough, he's my dad. He's Augie Smith. And to have such an instrumental role in the series, it was awesome to be able to come back and perform with Robert again. He's one of a kind.
He is one of a kind. He's a total badass, and you know, I mean, obviously T2 go way back there, and he must have tons of stories, and that must be just neat stuff when the cameras are off and you just shoot it with him.
And it's neat stuff when they're on too. I can't wait. He says he had the most fun playing Augie Smith, and he's openly told James Gunn that, and I really hope you know that he's really, really good at this part, and he takes some really bold, brave swings, and I'm very happy that he brought that sort of energy to set, because I would see only him doing this.
John Cena here on the Rich Eisen Show. I don't mean to get too deep with you, John, but I'm about to.
Let's do it.
Okay, so you play the Peacemaker, right? You play Peacemaker, and he's a guy who says he's about peace, but clearly, you know, he has conflicts, right?
Yep.
And you play John Cena in Wipeout, where you revel in people face planting and having all sorts of misery. Do you see a theme here, John? You picking something up here?
I see a guy trying to connect the dots to paint a human being in a light where they're one-dimensional. I see that.
You see what I mean? I mean, you know,
I see that.
people are just absolutely crushing themselves. You're wondering if they're really hurt. You know, we're hoping that
I never wonder. I know they're okay.
Okay.
That's the show. Yeah.
All right.
They have a blast on the show. We got a bunch of crazy characters on Wipeout. They know what they're signing up for, and we do a great job to give them wipeouts. Rich, that's what we do on Wipeout. Wipeout.
That's true. So if somebody just like runs straight through it and it's no big deal, and they actually show off some actual physical skills, then you don't have a show, right?
Yes, and I think that's where Nicole and I are the most surprised, when someone actually does well, because the course isn't constructed for that. It's not like an American Ninja Warrior thing where you can make your own course at home and practice.
Yes.
It really, and everything is based with water, and everything is heavily padded. But it is built for you to spill. It is built for you to be a highlight epic fail. And people embrace that. And honestly, we've had people just not run the obstacles. You can time out. There's a time limit on each obstacle, and we've had people just pass. So they're brave enough to get cast. They bring this crazy personality, and then they just sit there. And we've watched them just sit there. And a lot of times it's in the finals too. And we watch them just sit there and eventually just pass.
All right, I got John Cena here on the Rich Eisen Show. So you're from Massachusetts, John. Where's your accent? Did you ever have one? Did you ever have one?
You know, years ago, I went to boarding school at age 15, 16-ish, and that was kind of the beginning of the end for the Massachusetts accent. Now, if you get me back into the mean street of West Newbury, and you know, you give me one too many Sam Adams, I may bring it back for a little bit, but maybe I'm saving it. Maybe I'm saving it for another character down the road. But that Mark Wahlberg, Matt Damon, John Cena brothers movie.
Good John Cena. So I mean, do you have it? Like seriously, can you bust it out? Can you like give me?
You know, it'd be wicked hard.
Okay, there it is. Okay.
It'd be wicked hard to bust it out, but like I said, I need beers.
It's you know, because again, I'm from Staten Island, New York. If you cut me off in traffic, it comes out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Honestly, with me, I go back to see my family for the holidays, and it takes about 3 days. But on the third day, it was like I was born and raised in East Boston.
I love it, man. I love it. All right, let's go back to some more roots. I've got my social media grandmaster, TJ Jefferson, here, who's a diehard wrestling fan. I'll give you the floor, TJ, for a question to the great John Cena. Go for it.
TJ, do what you do scour the map of misinformation and come up with a question.
Will do.
Yes.
First of all, John, I want to say congratulations on all your success post-wrestling. I mean, I remember watching you in '01 as the prototype doing a car commercial for, I think, La
That's
Brea.
right, for La Brea Chevrolet.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I remember watching that. And then I remember watching you when you made your debut. I was like, yeah, was that the prototype from the car commercial? So
That was local access car commercials. That's where it all started for me.
congratulations on everything, brother.
Thank you so much.
I just want to say this. I know you've been busy, so you're probably not paying as much attention to the WWE as you probably once did. But there's a lot of weird stuff going on, man. A lot of weird releases, and I know a lot of fans are kind of like, they're curious, they're worried. Do you have any take on what's going on? And you, as a former top guy there, would it have bothered you to see all of these people that you could be making money with and having great matches with let go?
Well, okay. There's a lot to unpack there. I will say this: when I started in the WWE, the WWE had just absorbed WCW and ECW, and also had 2 developmental territories, and the rosters were abundant. Is probably a good word. So when I started in the WWE, there were releases twice a year. And it created stakes for developmental talent, and it created stakes for talent to try to make a name for themselves, because we just knew. We knew that on a calendar year, shortly after WrestleMania, and either before or after the holidays, there would be cuts. There always were, and that seemed to stop, right around when we really began to redefine ourselves with our new school. I'll say like the Ruthless Aggression era style of characters. Me, Brock, Randy, Dave. When those guys began to anchor in and develop the program going forward into the next decade and more, and we started to expand our reach. We started to have more programming. The talent rosters started to get big, and then it became, I think, a lot of it. WWE's hiring strategy, I think a lot of it might have, and this is, once again, I'm not thinking for the WWE, this is just me posing a different perspective. I think a lot of it might have been a little slightly defensive hiring, because there was and still is a giant boom right now in sports entertainment. People are absorbing this content, they're engaging, people are making a name for themselves outside of the WWE. It's no longer a one-stop shop. So I think with this flux of passionate people who love sports entertainment, people do get a name for themselves outside the WWE. And if the WWE feels maybe that they can be a fit in that world, they're going to try to give that person a shot. They're also really bullish on continuing to hire new talent. So the NXT Performance Center is I don't want to say overwhelmed, but they're at max capacity. So you have all of these performers, and a lot of them, aren't getting a chance to perform. And I think that's the real frustrating thing, both to the WWE and from a stance of a performer. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, it is a business. And I remember when I started in the WWE, I want to use the word fortunate. I was fortunate enough to be at the show in Atlanta where Stone Cold Steve Austin was fired. And that moment right there, it shot through me like a cannon, because I got the impression that if they could fire Stone Cold Steve Austin, unless your name was Vince McMahon, everyone is replaceable. And I think a lot of the frustration from the audience out there is they view sports entertainment like I do. I love watching matches. I love seeing potential in human beings. I love seeing potential in performers. And I see potential in everybody, especially when people begin to define what they would call a gimmick or a personality. I love to be able to try to run with it on conversations to see how far we can take it. But there is only so many spots. There is only so much programming. And I understand from a business standpoint the amount of releases that have had to happen. If the company justifies that, hey, this is the move we're making, we want to carry less talent, it has very little to do with profit loss margin. If the company strategy is to run on a lean roster, it doesn't it doesn't matter. You run on a lean roster. If the company strategy is to run on a fat roster, I remember when we had stacks of performers and the stock price was at $7. It's just the directive that the company was given to run on a talent-heavy roster or a talent-lean roster. And I know, obviously, this is a touchy subject, and it's going to elicit perspective from everyone, and everyone certainly is entitled to their perspective. I think the sad thing here is people who have this gift aren't being allowed to use it, and people are out of a job, and that is the absolute saddest thing, that people no longer can work at a company that they called home for a period of time. I feel for everybody who's had to go in that direction, but all of us, myself included, our journey will eventually have an end, and when you're in it, sometimes you don't have that perspective. But I personally, from my early days in the WWE, always had the perspective that it could be over tomorrow for any and all of us, because if they can fire Steve Austin, there's no way I'm even close to his ability, and that means that they can fire me. But that's just the culture I was brought up in. I was brought up in biannual cuts, and it happened all the time. And I just think WWE went through such a long period of not releasing anybody, and now they're kind of getting back into that rhythm again, that it is a very abrupt shift to somebody who's not familiar with that. And my heart goes out to everybody who has to get that sad news, because that's a tough conversation to have.
John Cena, I really appreciate that answer and the time and the conversation. And we end
Rich,
with.
You said you were going to get deep. You were not kidding.
No, you know, I got deep, and then my guy TJ Jefferson got deeper, and I appreciate you going there wherever we took you. And I guess last question for my children: is there more Ferdinand anywhere?
Oh man, I hope so. I loved doing that.
What a beautiful
Carlos, and
beautiful.
I'm really glad that you say you were known as Ferdinand in my house. That's
true.
Something I was very proud of. So thank you.
Absolutely true. Because I also need you to get more Peyton Manning in some
we can call him.
animation.
Rich, do me a favor. Don't let your kids watch Peacemaker just yet.
Ferdinand's the gateway.
First.
Yeah.
And then see if it's okay for them. It won't be okay for them, but that's for you to judge as a parent.
The gateway is Ferdinand, Wipeout, Peacemaker. That's the gateway.
Yeah, that's a 20-year timeline right there.
Take care of yourself, John Cena. Always appreciate it. Take care.
Thank you so much.
You got it. At John Cena on Twitter, Instagram. Check out Peacemaker on HBO Max Thursday. And tonight, the premiere, again, of Wipeout on TBS. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.